I use my iPhone camera to take literally all of my pictures, so I thought I would show you my favorite iPhone photography tips, how I improve my iPhone camera settings, how to actually get the best use of the iPhone camera instead of taking these regular boring photos. There are actually a lot of iPhone camera settings you can use to improve your photos that you maybe didn't know, and I'll also show you how I edit my pictures to make them look like this. If you don't like this automatic filter that iPhone adds to your pictures that just makes the picture look a lot brighter, there's actually a way to remove that and make the picture look like this instead. Just like more neutral tones, not as bright. You can just see the difference. And the way to get your pictures like this instead is to use the burst feature when you're taking your pictures. So if you didn't know, the burst feature is basically when you just take a bunch of pictures and you swipe the camera button to the left instead of just clicking it and taking regular pictures. For as long as you drag out the camera button, it's gonna take pictures. So if you hold it for a couple of seconds, it's actually gonna take like 20 pictures or even more, which you might be thinking that's like a lot for if I just want one picture, but it's really easy to sort through and organize your pictures if you just go into your camera roll and then press where it says burst in the upper left corner. You can just select the pictures you want to keep and then press done and keep only the pictures you selected. But yeah, here's a few examples of how this changes the lighting in your pictures. I feel like this is just a personal preference. Some people are probably gonna think the brighter iPhone filter picture looks better, but also I know a lot of people think the Snapchat camera looks a lot better, and that's because when you use the Snapchat camera instead of the regular iPhone camera, the iPhone doesn't add that iPhone filter to the picture. So this is a way to get that same effect but with the regular iPhone camera. The burst feature is also really useful if you take pictures of yourself. You can do a little hack where if you say a specific word, photo burst, the iPhone camera will automatically do a burst, so you don't even have to use the self timer. I mean, this really isn't a new hack, it's been around for a couple of years, but it's like a game changer when you want to take pictures of yourself instead of having to set a self timer. And what is this? This is actually a really good picture, and this is probably how 90% of people on Instagram takes their pictures. So you just go into settings and search for voice control and then activate that, and you're gonna create a custom command. So just press custom. So you're gonna enter a phrase. This is the phrase you're gonna say when you want to do a photo burst. So you can do take my pictures, and then you're gonna press action and run custom gesture, and this is where you're gonna just press in the middle of the screen around where the camera button is, then drag it out to where it's taking a burst. So you can either do multiple swipes if you want to have separate bursts with only a few pictures, or you can hold it for a long time if you want to have just one burst with a lot of pictures. Just hold it like this for a little bit. Okay, and then save. So now instead of taking different bursts with only 2 pictures like it did at first, this one saved as one burst with 36 pictures, so I can just go through all of this. Yeah, this is one of my favorite iPhone camera hacks, to have a photo shoot without a photographer, because all you need is a tripod. You can literally get these anywhere, and then your iPhone camera. And this is also one of my favorite iPhone camera hacks as a content creator or filming TikTok videos, because if I have some products I want to take pictures of, it's so much easier doing that hands-free with the burst feature. When taking pictures with the iPhone camera, it's so important to have a good case for your iPhone, like this O-Stand 360 spin case from Torres, who are sponsoring this video. Just like iPhone has a vision of increasing functionality, Torres also share that same vision. So they originally designed this O-shaped stand case. This ring can be used as a phone grip. This is extra important with the camera control on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, because it can be pretty hard to hold your phone in a steady grip while still being able to adjust the camera control. But with this case, it's so much easier. This stand can be turned 360 degrees, so you can really rotate it to a point where you find it comfortable. This can also be used as a kickstand, both for taking videos and photos, but also being able to watch YouTube and see what's on my screen if I'm not holding my phone. So you can keep your phone in vertical mode or horizontal mode, and whenever I don't have my tripod with me, I can just just use the kickstand to take pictures or videos of myself. As you can see, this can be adjusted to different degrees, so you can even have your phone in 90 degrees. This case also has a really strong magnet and is compatible for all Qi 2 chargers, but my favorite part has to be this beautiful aesthetic design. I'm in love with this color option. It matches so well with the Desert Titanium iPhone 16 Pro Max. This case comes in the colors Ivory, Dune, and Onyx, so you can get the one that matches your phone. The buttons are super soft and easy to press, and of course it has a beautiful cutout for the camera control. It also feels very slim but has super good protection. It's actually 12 feet, drop proof, and has raised edges for protecting the screen. I like to always keep a screen protector on my phone for extra security, so this is the Glasgow X screen protector, and it has an easy two-step setup. You just basically snap and pull. Somehow it pulls the air out of the center, which minimizes the risk of bubbles. It also has 100% coverage of your screen and is scratch resistant. The Glasgow X is of course compatible with the iPhone 16 series. This screen protector also offers 12 feet drop protection, so combined with the case, your iPhone is so protected. So if you're interested in checking this out, I will have a discount code and a link in the description. So another tip is to use Photographic Styles when editing your photos. I think we all know how to take pictures with a photographic style. You just swipe up and then press the little photographic style symbol, and then you can choose like amber, gold, whatever. But sometimes you don't want to do this before snapping the picture because you just want to snap a quick picture and then maybe edit it after, which you can actually do with photographic styles. So if you just go to the picture and then 3 little lines, you're gonna see an option that says styles, and here you're gonna be able to choose whichever style you think fits best for the picture. However, if you don't have this option, it might look like this and it just says adjust. This is probably because in your camera settings, if you go to formats, you probably have most compatible set as camera capture. So to edit with photographic styles, you need to set it to high efficiency. Of course, you can also customize like each photographic style. For example, this is before. It's like very yellowish and like has some green tones in it, and this is after. It's another real cool thing you can do with the photographic styles is if you go into settings and then in your camera settings go to photographic styles, you can select 4 photos that you like. Here we can see the different photographic styles. So we have standard, and you can like adjust it to see if you like it brighter or lower contrast or whatever. So then what's really cool is you can save this tone and color and automatically take pictures with this, so all your pictures can turn out like the ones right here. Now when we go into our camera, the default is gonna be amber. Yeah, I'm not saying this will look good for every single picture. Like if I go outdoors, maybe it won't look the same as indoor pictures, but yeah, this is a good way to like put a filter on for all your camera roll pictures in case you have a very specific style you want, in case you like all your pictures lower contrast or brighter or whatever it might be. Another little tip for shooting photos is if you go to photo capture in the camera settings, here you're gonna have all your lens settings. So normally your default lens is gonna be 24mm 1x zoom, but you can also set it to 35mm 1.5 or 28 1.2. So when you take a picture and you have the default to 35mm, it's going to be a little bit more zoomed in. So if you always find yourself having to zoom in and you feel like the 1x zoom is a bit too wide, this is a great thing to change. And I definitely think the 1.5 zoom looks so much better than the 1x zoom. I don't know, the pictures just turn out so much better if you're shooting an object. Like if we're comparing these pictures I just took of my dog, 1x zoom just really doesn't make any sense because we get a lot of unnecessary background area. Like the focus is not on my dog. I feel like every time I go into camera, I never shoot in the actual 1x zoom. I feel like this picture is a great example. It might seem like a normal iPhone picture, but as you can see, there's a lot of space like over the actual object that is very unnecessary, doesn't have to be there, and you don't really know what I'm focusing on in this picture. I feel like this happens a lot with iPhone camera because you just pull out your phone from your pocket and quickly snaps a photo, and with the 24mm lens you're getting a really wide shot, which could be good for like landscape, but I feel like for most pictures the 35mm lens is actually better because this is what a quick picture will turn out like compared to this, and you're just getting a lot more depth in the photo. And this works for any photos like food, pets, and even taking pictures of people. I'd say it works for any picture where the main object is a human or an actual physical object. This is also a really random bathroom picture. It's literally taken right here, but with the 24mm lens it's just kind of unclear what I'm really trying to focus on in this picture compared to with the 35mm lens. This is also kind of a random picture, but for some reason it looks a lot more aesthetic and just photographic. Okay, so the next tip is pretty obvious, like it's super simple. On the iPhone camera you can turn exposure down. You can go to the little plus and minus button here and drag the exposure down. This improves so many pictures. I feel like a lot of pictures taken with iPhone camera are overexposed, especially outdoor pictures, and I found that taking the exposure down to minus 0.7 makes the picture appear so much better. It works for both daylight, like taking a picture of an object on the grass often makes the grass appear like super exposed. It doesn't even look like the grass did in reality. Then also taking pictures at night or in just like a dark setting where you want that dark aesthetic, and if you have any bright lamps coming from behind the object you're shooting, you probably want to turn down the exposure a little bit. Just look at these two pictures. You can clearly see even in the camera that this is so overexposed. Literally, I feel like in every single setting, the normal exposure is just too bright. Turning it down to this setting will just make like any picture so much better. Now let's talk about taking live photos. I usually try to have my live setting on because for live photos, you have a bunch of different fun little options you can do for the photo, such as this bounce feature, which basically makes the picture appear like a little video, but it's still a picture. I think this is perfect for an Instagram photo, just like making your Instagram feed a little bit more fun and lively instead of just having still pictures. So it works for any like moving object. For example, this picture where the leaves are like blowing, comparing to the regular picture, like this now looks so boring. You can also choose to do a loop. I'm not as big of a fan of this. It's very similar, but I think I prefer the bounce option just because there's a smoother transition. And then another setting for live photos is the long exposure. This literally makes your iPhone pictures look like they were taken on a digital camera with a long shutter speed. If you want to use the long exposure setting, you need to hold the phone in the same position when taking the picture. Like you cannot move around too much, and then there should be like a moving object in the picture, such as a car or like leaves on the ground. Like I'm actually obsessed with this picture. So the car moving is just super blurry, so it really captures that like emotion in the picture. I feel like this is something you often forget with the iPhone camera. There are actually really cool pictures you can take with this camera, like this one. So I mean, you can just play around with this. It's not gonna look good for every picture. Like this picture with a tree that was blowing in the wind, I thought it would look good, but it kind of just looks a little blurry. I don't know. But I think for this picture with like the leaves on the ground, it kind of looks fine because you can kind of see some movement. Something else I'm trying to think more of when taking pictures with my iPhone camera is using portrait mode instead of the regular camera. I feel like I just always forget that the iPhone actually has a portrait mode, and you can improve your pictures so much just by using portrait mode. I'll put the settings I used here on the screen, but I like to do contour light and drag the exposure down quite a lot and adjust the depth a little bit. If you think the background is too blurry and there's like a sharp line around the subject, you can adjust the background blur. But yeah, like this picture was taken on an iPhone camera, which is kind of crazy, especially if you add some editing and presets and stuff. Like, it actually looks really professional. Though I'm a big fan of the regular one-time zoom and having pictures look like this. I'm trying to get more variety in my photos, and if I'm going out and wearing a fancy outfit, this is definitely a way to also make your photos look more fancy. I mean, just look at this picture, normal iPhone camera, and then this is portrait mode. I mean, it does require a bit more time, like changing the settings and thinking about the composition, but it really doesn't require as much effort as it might look like. And same thing if you're shooting macro shots and want to take pictures of like nature. You can make them look like they were actually taken on a professional camera. So these pictures were also taken with the contour light, the exposure at -1.7, and it creates this really cool and actually realistic blur that most like professional cameras have. Again, with some editing, you will not believe this was taken on an iPhone camera. And then the last thing I do when shooting photos, and I really want to opt for the best quality possible, is I always turn on the Pro RAW setting, or you can also turn on RAW depending on what iPhone you have. This will actually make the quality a lot better, although I'm pretty sure you cannot take raw photos and also have your live setting on, or take a burst with the raw photos. But if I know I'm going out to like have an official photo shoot and take some actually high quality pictures, I always turn on the raw setting. And I also try to combine it with the lower exposure. So if I know I'm editing the picture after taking it, I always try to take a raw picture. But if I know I'm not editing it and I just want to have it as it is, that's when I use the live option or the burst. But when I've taken a picture in the raw format, I usually go into an editing app like the Tezza app or Lightroom. So I'll show you just how I edit my photos. Because I already turned the exposure down when shooting this picture, I feel like I don't really gotta adjust the brightness too much. I am a big fan of this Lush filter and also the vinyl filter. This definitely makes it look very vintage, and I will just turn down the texture a little bit. Okay, so this is now before and this is after. So this is one style I like for my pictures. This picture actually looks like it was taken on a film camera, I think, because I mean you can still see the high quality if you zoom in, but it still has that soft like film look. Same with this one, like this is before and this is after. Okay, so what I'll do in Lightroom is I'll first go into presets. For this one, I think filter 9 would look really good actually. So this is now before and this is after. Like, this is just a totally different picture. I am gonna add a little bit of green just to like get some texture in this picture. Okay, and that's actually it. If you have a preset, you will save so much time with editing, but I'll also show you how I edit a picture if I don't apply a preset. For example, this picture, it already looks pretty good, but we might want to add a little bit more contrast. So what I like to do is go into the light setting and then press curve. I'll put 1 point in the middle and just drag it up a little bit, and then 1 point on the lower left side and just drag that down a little bit as well. That kind of just creates a bit more like contrast. And then I'll go into color and adjust the temperature. I'll just make it a little warmer. For this picture, we're also gonna add a little bit of green, so you can see the difference like without green and then with green. This is before and this is after. So now this is my camera roll. It's so dreamy. Like, I'm literally in love with all of these pictures. So these are obviously like a little bit warmer. Like, I mean, you can see that these have a preset on them, but I actually love them, giving autumn vibes. And then we have the ones from the Tezza app. These are a little bit of a colder tone and just softer, but I also love these pictures so much. But yeah, those are some of my favorite iPhone photography tips and just settings I use when I take my pictures. If you have any good editing tips or iPhone photography tips, please let me know in the comments.